Finding an activity to do with your child that challenges and pushes you both to be better, that builds character, and is something you can learn together is a fantastic thing.
At Okamikai Martial Arts and Fitness, we thrive on positive feedback from our students, so you can just imagine how happy we were to hear from Jessica and her daughters as they gave their thoughts about our classes.
Classes are always fun, and I always learn something new.
Fun and learning, all while getting out and getting active. That's one of our goals, and according to these amazing ladies, we're doing our job and doing it well.
I see the excitement and the joy that they have to go to class to learn and improve.
Contact us today to find out what everyone is talking about. Our family can't wait to meet your family.
Okamikai is my favorite place to be.
Okamikai Martial Arts and Fitness. Check us out at okamikai.com.
Everything is my favorite thing to do in class.
Welcome back to the Okamikai Chronicles. I'm Scott Campsall, and today we're going deep into something that affects every single person who's ever tried to get through a Monday, raise a kid, teach a class, or just live a halfway decent life. It's the illusion of control. We all want to believe that if we just plan hard enough, train long enough, or stay disciplined enough, everything will go exactly as we picture it. But life doesn't play by our rules. It doesn't care about your to-do list. As martial artists, we experience this truth every day on the mats. You can spend years perfecting a technique, but the moment you face a live partner, everything changes. The timing, the distance, the rhythm, it all shifts. And the more you try to force control, the faster it falls apart. So today's episode is about learning to flow, to move through life and training with less rigidity, more awareness, and a lot more peace. We'll explore what control really means, how our egos get tangled in it, and how letting go just might be one of the strongest moves we can make. Let's start by picturing an image. Imagine you're paddling a kayak. It's quiet, peaceful, you're gliding across the surface of the water, then suddenly a wave hits. Maybe the wind shifts. You paddle harder, trying to stay straight, but no matter what you do, the water's in charge. Now compare that to steering a super yacht. Big engines, autopilot, radar, total control, right? That's what most of us wish life was like. But life isn't a super yacht, it's a kayak. And most of us waste our energy pretending we're captains of something much bigger than we actually are. When you realize you're in a kayak, it changes your approach. You stop trying to dominate the water. You start learning how to move with it. You read the current, feel the shifts, and trust your reactions. That's martial arts in a nutshell. If you've trained long enough, you've had that moment in sparring when nothing goes according to plan. You think you're about to land a clean strike and suddenly you're off balance. You go for a sweep and the other person doesn't move the way you expect. That's when your training gets real. The ones who freeze, lose. The ones who adapt, learn. And the lessons are the same off the mats. You can make all the plans you want for your business, your family, or your fitness, but reality always has a say. When you stop pretending you can control everything, you actually gain something better. Awareness. You notice what's happening instead of what you wish was happening. It's the same difference between panic and presence. Panic reacts, presence responds. Let's take a second and think about the last time your plans went sideways. Maybe it was a tough class, a day when your kids just wouldn't listen, or something simple like traffic ruining your schedule. How'd you handle it? Did you fight it and stew on it all day? Or did you adjust, laugh it off, and keep paddling? That's the moment where growth happens. Not in the calm, but in the chaos. Now let's talk about why we need control so badly. Well, it's ego. We crave control because it makes us feel safe, predictable, important. We think if I can control everything, I'll never fail. The problem is control is mostly an illusion. And when we build our lives around that illusion, even small surprises feel like disasters. In martial arts, you can spot the ego in action from across the room. It's the student who tries to muscle every technique, who wants to win every drill, who treats practice like a competition. They're tense, they're rigid, and the moment something unexpected happens, they fall apart because ego hates uncertainty. But the best martial artists I've met, they're the opposite. Calm, curious, adaptable. They move like water. They don't need to control everything. They just trust themselves enough to respond to anything. And to me, that's the real definition of mastery. And that's not just martial arts, that's life. We're all trying to control things we can't. People, weather, outcomes, even time. We get frustrated when life doesn't match the picture in our head. But the truth is, nothing ever will. The only control we really have is over how we show up in each moment. Our preparation, our mindset, our willingness to adapt, that's it. And I'm not saying that I've got it all figured out. So here's something I want to try, and I'm going to throw it out to you and see if you can do it with me. We're going to try this mental exercise this week. When something doesn't go our way, big or small, let's pause for 3 seconds before reacting. That's it, 3 seconds. In those 3 seconds, we're going to ask ourselves, what can I actually influence here? If the answer is not much, let's breathe and move on. If the answer is something, though, we're going to act, but we're going to do it calmly and not out of frustration. I think that one small piece is going to change our entire day. It might even affect our relationships and how we train. And so if we can establish the idea that control is an illusion and we know our ego drives it, let's take that idea into teaching, parenting, and leadership. Because if there's anywhere control really starts to unravel, it's when we try to lead other people. If you teach martial arts, or really if you've ever raised a kid, you already know this truth. You can't control other people. You can influence them, you can guide them, but you can't make them act, think, or learn exactly the way you want. When I first started teaching, I thought being in control meant running a perfect class. Everyone focused, everything on time, no disruptions. I quickly learned that's not how real classes work. We get people that show up late. We get people that forget to tie their belt. Maybe they even forget their belt. People that don't know how to line up. People that are asking us questions that we put in the newsletter. And the one that gets me is when we actually write it on the whiteboard, and I have kids that'll ask me something that I've already written on the whiteboard and asked it in class. And quite honestly, I used to take it personally. I still get frustrated thinking I'm doing something wrong. But I realize the problem isn't them, it's my need for control. And so I'm still working on this, but I'm trying not to control the class as much as I'm trying to influence it. Something else I'm working on, I'm trying to set the tone more than demand the tone. I'm starting to see that the students are starting to learn more when I allow them to make more mistakes and recover than if I just give them structure. And we're seeing that this freedom is actually creating more discipline and not less. So I think this is the same for parenting. We can dictate every decision or emotion our kids can have, or we can show them what that stability looks like and then step back enough and let them find it for themselves. And maybe that's even leadership too. Leadership is more influence and not domination. It's patience over perfection. It's creating the kind of environment where growth is inevitable even when you're not in full control. So going back to our challenge that we're going to do together, maybe that's a way we look at it as parents, instructors, and leaders, is the next time that something doesn't go to our plan, instead of just reacting, we can say, all right, that didn't go the way I pictured it. Let's see what we can do now. Something I've started to do in class also is that when the kids make a mistake, I'll say something like good fix or good correction or way to adjust. And the theory behind that is that I'm trying to tap into a little bit of neuroscience, maybe, that when they have to handle dealing with a mistake, that they can look at it and they can say, I've made mistakes before. Now my neurons are wired together so that I can fire them into believing that life's not over. I can adjust and I can adapt. When I lose control, at first it feels uncomfortable. I feel exposed. I feel vulnerable. But once I start adjusting, I actually start feeling a little more calm. I move easier. I stop overthinking. This actually happens a lot for me in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. When I'm tense, I'm predictable and I burn a lot of energy. And when I relax and I flow, I find a lot more openings and my techniques get better. Control might feel safe, but it limits me. That doesn't mean that acceptance isn't going to feel risky, but it's a little more freeing. And I can relax a little better when I realize things are not going my way, but I can adjust. I find that when I finally stop needing every outcome to match my expectations, that's when I get a little bit more peaceful and I don't burn out so many calories and my cardio doesn't die as fast. And the cool thing to me about that kind of stuff is that that's when martial arts stops being about fighting and starts being about living. Because like I said, I can take that off the mats. So let's remember this. We're not a captain of a super yacht. We're the paddler of a kayak. And that's not a bad thing. The water might toss us around, but it also might take us to places we've never even planned. Our strength isn't going to be steering in the ocean. It's going to be learning how to move through it with grace. So let's keep our paddle in the water, keep our breath steady, and remember we're all stronger together. Thanks for spending your time with me on another episode of the Okami Kai Chronicles. If this episode helped you in any way, please share it with someone who's trying to keep their balance in the middle of life's waves. And if you want to start your own journey with us, please visit us at okamikai.com. Until next time, train hard, stay humble, and keep flowing. This has been a Campsall Broadcasting production. If you ever feel like you're in control, well, we're always looking for more Little Dragons instructors.